Let me begin with a question you have perhaps never considered. What if the way you see women is not vision at all, but a fever dream born of loneliness? What if every judgment you have made, every conclusion you have drawn, every feeling you have felt in their presence, what if all of it has been distorted by a need so deep you mistook it for truth? I do not speak of hatred. I do not speak of contempt. I speak of something far more unsettling, the slow, quiet correction that occurs when a man lives alone long enough that the noise finally stops. There is a particular transformation that takes place in prolonged solitude. It is not the solitude of a weekend, not the solitude of a break between relationships. I mean the solitude that extends into months, then years, the solitude that becomes a way of being rather than a circumstance to escape. And what this solitude does above all else is change how a man sees women. Not because he grows bitter, not because he grows cold, but because he grows quiet. And in that quiet, the illusions that once shaped his vision begin to dissolve like morning fog. This is not a comfortable truth. It will not comfort those who still live inside the dream, but for those who have awakened, or who sense the awakening approaching, what I am about to describe will feel less like revelation and more like recognition, before the silence teaches him otherwise. A man does not see women. He sees ghosts of his own making. He sees the answer to his loneliness. He sees the validation of his worth. He sees the proof that he is chosen, desired, necessary. He sees a mirror in which he desperately hopes to find himself reflected as something more than he fears he is. When a woman smiles at him, he does not register a simple human gesture. He registers possibility, hope, the potential end of his interior ache. When she is beautiful, he does not see beauty as a quality she possesses. He sees it as a force that acts upon him, that moves him, that disturbs the comfortable numbness of his daily existence. He believes he desires her, but what he desires is the feeling her presence creates in him. The sudden aliveness, the sense that his life, which moments ago seemed small and purposeless, might contain meaning after all. This is not love. This is not even attraction in any pure sense. This is metaphysical desperation wearing the mask of romance. Before solitude, a man projects entire narratives onto women he barely knows. A conversation becomes destiny. A glance becomes significance. He constructs elaborate architectures of meaning from the smallest materials because he needs those architectures. He needs to believe that connection is imminent, that rescue is possible, that the emptiness inside him can be filled by another person. He does not see the woman before him. He sees what she might do for him, what role she might play, what absence she might fill, and because he sees her this way, he is wounded by her humanity. When she reveals herself to be something other than his projection, when she is indifferent, or complicated, or simply uninterested, he experiences this, not as information, but as betrayal, as if she has failed to become the character he wrote for her. The man who has not yet lived alone long enough moves through the world of women like a desperate author, searching for an actress to play his lead role. He auditions them without their knowledge. He casts them without their consent. And when they refuse the part, he feels the peculiar grief of the artist whose vision has been rejected by reality itself. Now observe what happens when a man remains alone. Not from inability, not from defeat, but from the simple passage of time in which no woman enters his daily life with sufficient force to break the pattern. The first thing solitude removes is urgency. When weeks pass into months without female attention, without romance, without even the possibility of either, something unexpected occurs. The pressure releases, the desperation that once drove him toward any possibility of connection. This begins to quiet. He stops scanning every room for opportunity. He stops interpreting every interaction as potential. The urgency that made women seem like necessities rather than individuals. This fades. What solitude removes next is the validation hunger. A man who constantly seeks female approval structures his entire self-presentation around obtaining it. He performs, he adjusts, he monitors himself for acceptability. But when he lives alone long enough, when no woman observes him, judges him, approves or disapproves of him, the performance becomes exhausting and then pointless. He stops asking, even unconsciously, what would she think of this? Would this make me attractive? Does this prove my worth? Without an audience, the performance ends, and when the performance ends, he begins, perhaps for the first time since adolescence, to discover what he actually is beneath the performance. What solitude removes, finally, is the romantic mythology itself. Every culture, every story, every song tells him the same lie, that completion comes through union with a woman, that his life is a half-life until she arrives, that love is the answer to the question of existence. But when he lives alone long enough, genuinely alone, this mythology loses its grip, not because he becomes cynical, but because he discovers to his great surprise that he continues to exist, that his days have rhythm, that meaning emerges from sources he had overlooked while searching desperately for it in female attention. He realizes that the narrative he was handed, the one that promised salvation through romance, was not truth. It was simply a story, and like all stories, it could be set aside. Now we arrive at the heart of the matter. After prolonged solitude has done its work, how does a man see women? He sees them for the first time as people. This sounds simple. It is not. It is revolutionary. He sees a woman walking past him and registers, a human being engaged in her own existence, not a possibility, not an answer, not a fantasy waiting to be activated. A person with her own interior life, her own purposes, her own trajectory through the world that has nothing whatsoever to do with him. He finds her beautiful and notes this, the way he might note any beautiful thing, a well-designed building, a clear morning, a piece of music that moves him. The beauty does not colonize him. It does not transform into longing or possession or the frantic need to make that beauty relate to his life. He can observe her beauty without requiring anything from it. This is not coldness. This is clarity. When she speaks to him, he listens to what she actually says, rather than searching her words for evidence of attraction. He responds to her thoughts, her humor, her intelligence, or her lack of these things, without filtering everything through the question of whether she might desire him. He notices when a woman is kind and appreciates this. He notices when she is sharp and respects this. He notices when she is shallow and accepts this. None of these observations are entangled with his ego. None require validation or provide devastation. The man who has lived alone long enough no longer experiences female attention as confirmation of his worth. A woman's interest becomes interesting, perhaps, but not transformative, not necessary. He does not build kingdoms on the foundation of her smile. Similarly, her disinterest ceases to be a judgment on his existence. If she is uninterested, he registers this as simple incompatibility or her own preference, nothing more. He does not create elaborate narratives about his inadequacy. He does not resent her for failing to rescue him from himself. He begins to distinguish between attraction and compulsion. He may still feel drawn to a woman, but the drawing is clean. It is not tangled with desperation, with the need to prove something, with the terror of remaining alone. The attraction exists as itself, without the suffocating weight of psychological need. And here is perhaps the most significant shift. He sees through the performance that women themselves offer. Just as he once performed for female approval, he now recognizes when women perform for male attention. He sees the strategic presentation, the calculated charm, the rehearsed spontaneity. He does not judge this harshly. He simply sees it clearly. He understands that much of what presents itself as genuine attraction is actually the dance of mutual validation seeking. Two desperate performers trying to convince each other and themselves that the performance is real. He no longer participates in this dance with the same conviction. He cannot. The solitude has made him too aware. When a woman tests him, and women do test, consciously or unconsciously, searching for the frame of a man's reality, he neither fails nor succeeds in the traditional sense. He simply does not register the test as significant. His reality is not up for negotiation because it is no longer constructed around the need for her approval. This, I must emphasize, does not make him cruel. It makes him present. He can engage with women more honestly because he is not constantly calculating, not constantly performing, not constantly afraid. He can afford to be genuine because he has discovered that his survival, psychological, emotional, spiritual, does not depend on any woman's response to him. Here is where the observer from outside makes his predictable error. He sees this man who no longer desperately pursues women, no longer structures his life around female approval, no longer treats romance as salvation, and the observer concludes, this man hates women. This is precisely wrong. Hatred requires investment. Hatred is the shadow side of need. You cannot hate what you have truly released. You can only hate what still has power over you. The man who has lived alone long enough does not hate women any more than he hates the weather. He simply sees both clearly, without the distortion of desperate need. The misunderstanding occurs because our culture cannot imagine a middle ground between worship and contempt. Either women are goddesses to be pursued, or they are obstacles to be resented. Either romance is everything, or it is nothing. But the man of whom I speak has found a third position, interested detachment. He can appreciate women, enjoy their company, desire them even. But none of this reaches the level of psychological dependency that once defined his every interaction. The world mistakes this clarity for coldness, because the world is invested in the fever. The romantic mythology requires men to be desperate. It requires them to need. When a man ceases to need in the expected way, the world does not know what to make of him. They call him damaged, broken, emotionally unavailable. In truth, he may be more emotionally available than he has ever been, available to genuine connection rather than desperate transaction. But genuine connection looks nothing like the performance everyone expects. The difference between this man and the misogynist is simple. The misogynist still cares desperately. He is still entangled. His resentment proves his continued investment. He has not achieved distance. He has achieved only the inversion of worship into contempt, which is not distance at all, but the same relationship with the polarity reversed. The man shaped by genuine solitude feels no resentment because he has nothing to resent. Women have not failed him. They have simply revealed themselves to be human beings rather than solutions, and human beings cannot fail to be what they never were. What are the practical consequences of this transformation in perception? First, emotional stability in the presence of women. The man who sees clearly does not experience the wild oscillations between elation and despair that characterize the desperate male. A woman's smile does not send him soaring. Her disinterest does not send him plummeting. He maintains equilibrium because his emotional state is no longer hostage to female response. Second, immunity to manipulation. Much of what passes for female power over men is simply the exploitation of male need. The woman who understands that a man desperately requires her validation can extract nearly anything from him: time, resources, dignity, truth. But the man who has lived alone long enough has nothing to extract. His validation comes from within, or from his work, or from sources she cannot touch. Her approval becomes irrelevant to his sense of self. And without this leverage, the entire economy of manipulation collapses. Third, transformed response to rejection. When a woman is uninterested, the man who sees clearly experiences this as information rather than injury. She is not attracted to him. Very well. This tells him something about compatibility, about her preferences, about the particular chemistry between them, or its absence. It does not tell him that he is worthless. It does not confirm his deepest fears about himself. It is simply data, no more emotionally significant than learning she prefers coffee to tea. Fourth, immunity to romantic narratives. Our culture traffics in stories about destiny, soulmates, the one, love at first sight. These narratives are not innocent. They serve a purpose. They transform ordinary human relationships into cosmic events, thereby justifying the extraordinary sacrifices and compromises men make in pursuit of them. But the man who has lived alone long enough recognizes these narratives as the fictions they are. He may still experience attraction, affection, even love, but he does not wrap these experiences in mystical significance. He does not tell himself that this particular woman is different from all others, that this connection is special, that fate has finally smiled upon him. He knows that what he feels, however intense, is a product of biology, psychology, circumstance, not destiny, not cosmic significance, not proof of anything beyond the moment itself. Fifth, freedom to walk away. Perhaps this is the most significant consequence of all. The man who does not need a woman is free to leave when a relationship becomes destructive, dishonest, or simply unfulfilling. Most men remain in situations that harm them because the alternative, being alone, terrifies them more than the harm itself. They accept disrespect, betrayal, contempt, the slow erosion of their dignity, because they cannot bear the thought of returning to solitude. But the man who has already lived there, who has made his peace with it, who knows that it is survivable, even in certain ways preferable to bad company, this man cannot be held hostage. He can leave, and the knowledge that he can leave transforms every relationship he enters. It makes him paradoxically a better partner, because he is there by choice rather than need. Now let me connect this transformation to the deeper current of truth that runs beneath all human experience, what I have called the will, the blind, purposeless force that drives all living things, expresses itself in men primarily through the sexual impulse. This impulse does not care about your happiness. It does not care about truth. It cares only about its own perpetuation. The will uses beauty as bait. It makes you see a particular arrangement of features, a certain movement, a specific presence, and floods your consciousness with desire, not because that woman is objectively superior to others, but because the will has judged her, in its inscrutable calculus, to be suitable for reproduction. What you experience as love, as attraction, as profound connection, this is the will, manipulating you toward its own ends. You are its instrument. Your feelings are not your own. They are the will's mechanism for ensuring its continuation. Before solitude, most men live entirely inside this manipulation. They mistake the will's commands for their own desires. They believe the fever is truth. But prolonged solitude creates distance from the will's most immediate demands. When the biological urgency quiets, when the pressure of sexual need releases through simple lack of opportunity or exhaustion, something remarkable happens. Consciousness catches its breath. For the first time, a man can observe the mechanism rather than being entirely consumed by it. He can watch desire arise and recognize it as desire, not as truth, not as profound meaning, but as the will doing what the will does. This does not eliminate desire. It contextualizes it. It removes desire from the center of existence and places it in its proper position, as one force among many, powerful but not ultimate, compelling but not defining. The woman he sees then is both real and illusory, real in her actual personhood, illusory in the significance his biology tries to assign to her. She is herself, nothing more, nothing less. Understanding this, he can engage with women without drowning in them. He can appreciate what is genuine in the connection while remaining aware of what is merely the will's theater. Let me conclude with the simplest truth I know. A man who has lived alone long enough, who has made his peace with silence, who has learned to distinguish between the voice of need and the voice of genuine desire, this man relates to women in a way that most will never understand. He does not hate them, he does not fear them, he does not worship them. He sees them, and seeing clearly, he is finally free to choose. Free to engage or withdraw, free to connect without desperation, free to appreciate without possession, free to walk away without bitterness. The women he encounters may find this confusing. They are accustomed to men who need them, who chase them, who can be manipulated through the careful management of approval and withdrawal. They know how to navigate male desperation. They do not know what to do with male clarity. Some will mistake his clarity for coldness. Some will feel insulted that he does not respond with the expected urgency. Some will work harder to capture his attention, confused by his immunity to the usual mechanisms of female power. Others, the rare ones, will recognize something different in him, a stillness, a presence, an absence of the frantic energy that characterizes most male attention. These women may be drawn to him precisely because he does not need them, because in his presence for the first time they can stop performing and simply be. But whether women understand him or not is in the end irrelevant to his experience. He is no longer living his life in response to female perception. He is no longer structuring his reality around the hope of female approval or the fear of female rejection. He has found what every man secretly seeks and few ever find, the ability to stand alone without breaking, to want without needing, to appreciate without grasping, to see clearly without the distortion of desperation. This is what prolonged solitude teaches. Not hatred, not contempt, not withdrawal, clarity. And once a man sees clearly, he cannot unsee. He cannot return to the fever dream that once defined his relationship with women. He cannot pretend that the mythology is truth, that the performance is genuine, that his happiness depends on any woman's response to him. He is awake, and the awakened man moves through the world of men and women like a sober person at a party of drunkards. He sees the chaos, the desperation, the performance. He understands it because he remembers it. He lived it, but he cannot participate in it anymore, not with the same conviction, not with the same need. He can only watch, appreciate what is beautiful, acknowledge what is true, and continue on his path, neither saved nor damned by the women he encounters along the way. This is not a victory, it is not a defeat, it is simply vision, and vision, once achieved, changes everything.